So let's understand programming languages, how the computer works. So the computer works in terms of the processor, the storage space, and RAM. So the processor basically understands zeros and ones only. So there are two types of programming languages. One is high level and the other one is low level. So the high level programming language is very close to the human language, which is like we write sentences in any language. So it is very similar to that. It is human readable and understandable. Whereas a low level language is more closer to the to zeros and ones, and that is difficult for a human to very easily understand and read. So these are two type of programming languages. However, both of these get converted into zeros as one when the CPU starts processing these programs. So let's understand a little more in terms of definition what exactly these two mean. So low level language is like a machine language which is difficult to modify or program. For example, every CPU has its machine language. The code is written in machine language and the instructions that the processor use. Second is assembly language, which is each computer's microprocessor that is responsible for arithmetic, logical, and control activities, needs instructions for accomplishing such tasks, and these instructions are in assembly language. The use of assembly language is in the device drivers, low level embedded systems, and real time systems. So, like I said, low level programming languages are very close to zeros and ones, and that are done to do the basic computing jobs. Like in your calculator, it would do the calculations. That all the programming within the calculator is done with using machine language and assembly language programming. The high level languages they are independent of the hardware, and their code is very simple and developers can read, write, debug, and as they are very similar to English like statements. So the high level languages can further be divided into procedural, non-procedural, and object-oriented languages. So procedural is where you give a sequential step-by-step procedure and the code just follows that procedure. So, languages like Fortran, COBOL, C are procedural languages. These are one of the first programming languages which came into being and procedural languages. So you step one, step two, step three, and all of that. Non-procedural is that does not specify what to do, but does specify how to do it. So like SQL, Prolog, these are all non-procedural languages, which basically means that, they define how to do it, but not specify what to do. So that is non-procedural languages. And then we have object-oriented program languages, which we use these days. It's like C++, Java, Python. All of these are object-oriented programming. So it is where the code is used to manipulate the data. So in procedural languages, what happens is it's like very simple to like A plus B and that's equal to C. That's what you do in procedural languages. Non-procedural languages is mostly your databases where you say update XYZ and then your SQL goes and does that update. And when we talk about object-oriented language, this is where you get the data from your database, you play with that database, and then you push it back into the database. So that's what happens in an object-oriented programming. So your object-oriented programming is basically very closely knitted with the data. So, the kind of data that you'll build. So let's say a student's roll number, first name, last name, address. So all of that would be knitted together in an object-oriented language, and then you can play around with that data quite easily. Whereas in the non-procedural language, these would be separate fields, separate variables, and it would be difficult for you to, work together with them. So that is the difference between procedural and object-oriented language. We'll understand more about object-oriented in coming videos. That's all for this video. Have a nice day, guys, and good luck in your journey.
If you have any questions, you can join the QA session, which happens every Friday. And please drop in your comments, feedback,